Have you ever felt that something strange is happening with your memory, but preferred not to mention it to anyone? A forgotten name here, a repeated task there, and soon comes that silent thought no one likes to admit. Could this be the beginning of something more serious? The truth is that Alzheimer's doesn't start suddenly. It grows in silence. And the worst part? The early signs don't seem to have anything to do with the brain. They show up as small failures in the body, speech, daily routine, and because of that, most people ignore them. According to the Alzheimer's Association, more than 6 million Americans are currently living with the disease. And the estimate is that this number will triple by 2060. That's not just alarming, but here comes the news that could change everything. There are 8 little-known signs that indicate Alzheimer's may already be growing inside your body, and today you're going to learn how to identify them. These signs were discovered by top scientists, hidden in research almost no one reads, and they could be the difference between preserving your mind or watching it fade away little by little. They are symptoms so subtle that most doctors only notice them when it's already too late. But you're going to learn them now and will be able to act before they get worse. And stay with me until the end, because one of these symptoms might be hidden in something you do every single day, thinking it's harmless. And if you care about your health, your future, and your independence, subscribe to the channel right now. That way, you won't miss any vital tips like this one, and you'll help spread this knowledge to more people who don't have easy access to doctors, specialists, or scientific articles. It's free, takes less than 2 seconds, and it can literally save lives. The first sign: severe, unexplained muscle pain that appears out of nowhere and insists on staying, even when you haven't made any physical effort, maybe more than just a physical annoyance. It can be the first silent warning that something is starting to go wrong inside your brain. Behind this pain is often a deep inflammatory process. Yes, the body ages, but it's not normal to feel constant pain without a clear reason. This is a sign that there is an imbalance, and that imbalance is directly linked to your brain health. Recent studies show that silent chronic inflammation, the kind that builds up over the years, is among the main risk factors for the development of Alzheimer's. When your muscles hurt for no apparent reason, it's an indication that your immune system is constantly activated, trying to fight something, but that something may be inside your own body, a low-grade inflammation that, over time, affects blood vessels, nerves, and eventually the brain. When this inflammation reaches the central nervous system, it speeds up the accumulation of beta-amyloid plaques, toxic structures that damage brain connections and are present in almost all cases of Alzheimer's. The problem starts in the muscles, but it spreads to the neurons, affecting memory, concentration, reasoning, and even emotional control. But there's good news. This pain is reversible. When you fight inflammation, the effects can be quickly felt, both in the body and the mind. The pain lessens, sleep improves, mood becomes more balanced, and most importantly, your brain health is protected. Among the best strategies for this is the regular consumption of foods rich in natural antioxidants and anti-inflammatory substances. Turmeric, for example, contains curcumin, a natural compound that has been studied for its direct impact on reducing brain inflammation. When combined with black pepper, its absorption is increased by up to 2,000%. A simple teaspoon per day, mixed in warm water or in a natural juice, can already make a difference. Another essential nutrient is magnesium, especially in the bisglycinate form, which has high bioavailability. It acts on muscle relaxation, improves sleep quality, and helps regulate neurotransmitters, reducing stress and anxiety levels. It can be found in foods such as pumpkin seeds, cooked leafy greens, avocado, and dark chocolate with a high cocoa content. Including these foods in your routine is simple. No complicated recipes or expensive ingredients. Just start the day with a turmeric and natural orange juice, or add cooked spinach and avocado to your lunch. These are small choices that, when combined, build a powerful barrier against degenerative processes. Of course, it's always important to respect your own limits. People who use anticoagulants should talk to their doctor before consuming turmeric regularly, since it also has a mild anticoagulant effect, and excessive magnesium can cause intestinal discomfort, so the appropriate dosage must be respected. Ignoring this sign, treating muscle pain as something normal with age, is a common and dangerous mistake. By letting this inflammation accumulate, you allow the neurodegenerative process to silently advance. Over time, what once seemed like mere fatigue can develop into more frequent memory lapses, difficulty articulating thoughts, and eventually, loss of autonomy. If you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step. And the next symptom we're going to explore is even more surprising. It's often mistaken for a simple digestive problem, but it may reveal that your brain is being affected without you realizing it. The second, SIGN, frequent constipation and intestinal discomfort. Many people think that constipation is just a digestive discomfort. But when it becomes frequent, especially in people over 50, it may be revealing something much more serious, a communication failure between the gut and the brain. The gut is called the second brain for a reason. It houses about 100 million neurons and is responsible for producing more than 90% of the body's serotonin, a neurotransmitter that regulates mood, appetite, and even memory. When the gut falls out of balance, the entire nervous system begins to suffer. And this suffering isn't limited to the belly. It directly affects the brain. Chronic constipation is one of the first signs of dysfunction in the gut microbiota. And what few people know is that changes in this microbiota are present in practically all patients with early-stage Alzheimer's. Scientists have discovered that when the gut is inflamed or imbalanced, it sends negative signals to the brain through the so-called gut-brain axis, increasing the risk of brain inflammation, memory lapses, and even loss of gray matter. Additionally, the buildup of toxins caused by poor digestion and a sluggish gut compromises the elimination of waste that should be leaving the body. These toxins, when they remain in circulation, cross the blood-brain barrier, a kind of security filter of the brain, and contribute to the premature aging of nerve cells. A blocked gut, therefore, is not just a digestion problem. It's a direct threat to mental clarity, attention, and logical reasoning. But there's good news. With simple changes in diet, hydration, and routine, it's possible to restore gut health, improve bowel movement, and at the same time, protect your brain. The first step is to include soluble fiber in your daily life. Foods like oats, apple, with peel, soaked flaxseed, and cooked vegetables are great allies. They feed the good bacteria in the gut, strengthen the microbiota, and support the production of fatty acids beneficial to the brain, such as butyrate, a substance that reduces inflammation and protects neurons. Another essential component is natural probiotics, found in fermented foods like homemade yogurt with live lactobacilli, kefir, and kombucha. These microorganisms help restore intestinal balance and reactivate communication between the gut and the brain. A glass of warm water with lemon in the morning, a spoonful of chia seeds soaked overnight, a bowl of yogurt with fresh fruit for breakfast. These are simple, accessible, and effective practices, and if adopted consistently, they can transform not only the functioning of the gut, but also the clarity of the mind. It's worth noting that people with diagnosed intestinal diseases such as Crohn's disease or irritable bowel syndrome should adapt these recommendations with professional help. And those taking medications like opioids or antidepressants may experience constipation as a side effect and need specific adjustments. Ignoring this sign is like covering your ears to the body's most direct warning. When the gut doesn't function well, the brain doesn't function well either. And over time, what starts as slow digestion can evolve into forgetfulness, mental fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and a much higher risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases. If you suffer from frequent constipation, don't accept it as part of aging. It's a cry for help coming from within. And the next symptom may be even more challenging to identify because it disguises itself as ordinary tiredness. But in reality, it may reveal a state of silent collapse in your brain energy. The third, SIGN, constant mental fatigue. There's a huge difference between being physically tired and feeling like your mind simply doesn't respond. When you wake up already feeling exhausted, as if your brain is heavy or too slow to think, that's not just a bad day. This type of frequent mental fatigue can be an early warning of cognitive decline in progress. Alzheimer's, in its early stages, affects the brain's ability to recover during sleep. Even if a person sleeps for hours, the rest is not restorative. This happens because the brain is unable to properly perform the neuronal cleaning process, especially the drainage of toxins produced throughout the day, a job mainly carried out at night. This dirt buildup overloads the brain, making it harder to concentrate, make decisions, and stay focused on simple tasks. It's like trying to think through a fog, but there's good news. A diet rich in tryptophan, an amino acid involved in the production of serotonin and melatonin, can restore the sleep cycle and reactivate the brain's regeneration process. Eggs, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, and ripe bananas are powerful allies. In addition, strategic breaks during the day, with deep breathing and sun exposure, help recalibrate the internal clock and restore mental clarity. If this mental exhaustion isn't addressed, it accumulates like a debt, and the result, decreased productivity, memory lapses, mental confusion, all of which pave the way for something bigger and more dangerous. And in the next sign, we're going to talk about something most people ignore because it seems like a cosmetic detail, but it may be one of the most visible symptoms that Alzheimer's is gaining strength inside your body. The fourth sign, changes in facial expression few people notice, but the face also speaks when the brain begins to fail. And we're not talking about wrinkles or signs of aging. We're talking about something more subtle, the decrease in natural expressiveness, that smile that takes a while to appear, the gaze that seems distant, the forehead that hardly moves, even in surprise or concern. These changes may indicate impairment of the brain areas responsible for emotions and fine motor control, which directly affect the ability to react with the face. In many cases, this facial rigidity is one of the first signs that brain connections are slowing down, especially at the onset of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Furthermore, the loss of expressiveness can affect relationships. The people around notice, even if they can't explain why, and the risk is that this emotional distance ends up being mistaken for coldness or disinterest, when in fact it's the brain crying out for help. Simple practices like daily facial exercises and reading aloud with gestures help keep facial muscles active and brain connections functioning. Music also plays a powerful role. Singing activates multiple areas of the brain and can partially reverse this rigidity. Ignoring these changes might seem harmless, but in the long run, it reflects a mind that is losing emotional and cognitive agility. And the next sign is even more surprising because it begins on the skin, but reveals much more than just a cosmetic issue. The fifth sign, changes in skin texture and color few. People associate brain health with the condition of their skin, but science has already proven that changes in skin color, hydration, and elasticity can indicate an ongoing neurological imbalance, especially when these changes happen suddenly. Without any apparent explanation, the skin and brain are both formed from the same embryonic tissue, the ectoderm. That's why any deep brain dysfunction can directly reflect on the appearance of the skin, particularly in elderly individuals. The skin starts to lose its glow, becomes thinner with flaky or yellowish areas even in those who maintain good nutrition and hydration. In addition, the oxidative stress caused by the buildup of toxins in the brain affects collagen production and impairs cellular regeneration. This can speed up skin aging and also lead to spots or small wounds that take longer to heal. But there's good news. The consumption of foods rich in natural antioxidants, such as blueberries, purple grapes, and green tea, has been shown not only to protect neurons, but also to improve cellular oxygenation and nutrition of the skin. The skin is a silent mirror of what happens inside, and ignoring these signs may mean allowing the brain to deteriorate unnoticed. In the next section, you'll understand why the key to avoiding this process may lie in something you do every day, but in the wrong way. The sixth sign, changes in the way you cook when someone starts forgetting ingredients, repeating steps, or getting confused with recipes they used to know by heart. It's common to think they're just distracted, but this disorganization in the kitchen, especially with tasks that used to be automatic, can be an early symptom of cognitive decline. Cooking is a complex activity for the brain. It involves short-term memory, motor coordination, spatial awareness, and continuous attention. Small mistakes, like leaving a pot on the stove or forgetting the main seasoning, show that the brain is struggling to process multiple pieces of information at once. These changes are subtle at first, but they intensify if not addressed in time. The good news is that there is a simple and enjoyable way to reverse this condition, and it involves an ingredient you probably already have at home, but are not using the right way. It's a medicinal recipe based on a food rich in DHA and astaxanthin, two compounds that strengthen brain synapses, reduce neuronal inflammation, and stimulate the regeneration of memory cells. If you want to discover this complete recipe, which is being used by clinical nutrition specialists to support patients with memory complaints, click the link I've pinned in the comments. There, you'll understand how this preparation can help protect your mind and even learn how to make it the right way without needing to change your entire eating routine. It's not a product, not a miracle treatment, but rather a different way of preparing a common food with a detail that makes all the difference. And the sooner you discover this, the greater your chance of preserving your autonomy. In the next, Sin, we'll address a social behavior that many interpret as shyness or tiredness, but which may be a sign that the brain is starting to isolate itself. The seventh sign, gradual emotional isolation. Sometimes, the most alarming symptom isn't something you feel, but something you stop feeling. When a person starts avoiding conversations, declining invitations, or disconnecting from loved ones. This can be a direct reflection of early-stage cognitive changes. It's not necessarily depression. Isolation in Alzheimer's can come disguised as, "I'd rather stay home today, I'm tired, or I don't want to bother anyone." Little by little, the person begins to shut down, losing interest in social interactions, even those that once brought joy. This withdrawal has a neurological basis. As the brain loses efficiency in processing simultaneous stimuli, it begins to avoid environments that demand emotional response and quick thinking, like group conversations, family gatherings, or even phone calls. What seems like mere introspection is, in fact, the brain seeking protection from overload. But there's good news. Stimulating social connections, even in small doses, helps keep the brain active, improves memory, and significantly reduces the risk of cognitive decline. A simple habit like telling old stories to grandchildren, playing cards, or making weekly calls to friends can be an emotional workout with powerful effects on the nervous system. When this behavior is ignored, isolation progresses, accelerating the loss of emotional references, confusion, and even episodes of deep apathy. The mind needs affection to stay alive, and Alzheimer's knows that. If you recognized yourself in any of these signs or recognize someone you love, now is the time to act. And if you've stayed with me until now, congratulations. Few people choose to face the truth head, and as a reward, I'm going to give you one last tip that could be the turning point in your prevention journey. The eighth sign, ringing in the ears. Few people know this, but constant ringing in the ears, that high-pitched sound, like a whistle or hiss that comes from nowhere, can be one of the first warnings that the brain is suffering from silent neurological overload. This symptom, called tinnitus, is usually associated with hearing problems. But recent studies are showing something deeper: the direct relationship between ringing in the ears and changes in the temporal lobe of the brain, the region responsible for hearing and, interestingly, also for short-term memory. The brain, in trying to compensate for minimal hearing loss, begins to generate phantom electrical signals, and this overloads the neural circuits, accelerating the process of oxidative stress in brain cells. In other words, the ringing isn't just an ear problem. It's a sign that the nervous system is under constant pressure and can no longer filter environmental stimuli. This noise, as subtle as it may seem, wears down concentration, harms sleep, and interferes with the ability to retain new information. Over time, it increases the risk of anxiety, mild depression, and progressive cognitive loss, especially when combined with other signs you've seen in this video. But there's good news. Reducing brain inflammation and restoring neurotransmitter balance can relieve the ringing and also strengthen memory. Supplements rich in vitamin B12, magnesium, and omega-3 are considered important allies in this process, and the practice of conscious breathing or guided meditation for 10 minutes a day has already been shown to reduce the intensity of tinnitus in several clinical studies. If ringing in the ears has become part of your daily life, even in a subtle way, it's time to pay attention. The brain speaks, and sometimes it screams. Don't ignore that noise. Now that you know the 8 most silent signs of Alzheimer's, it's time to take it a step further. In the next video, you'll discover which common fruit may be sabotaging your brain health and how to reverse this effect with one simple change. Which of these signs do you find hardest to notice or deal with in daily life? Write it in the comments. We all want to help you face this in the best possible way. Subscribe now. It helps more people without access to doctors or studies discover this information. And before you go, you need to learn about the strangest and most overlooked sign of early dementia. It starts in the body, not in the memory. It might be happening to you right now, and no one around you has noticed. Watch the video now